He was already inside the building before he realized he didn't remember walking in. The walls were all white. Cold. No windows. No clocks. Just silence. Sylvester Stallone looked down at his hands. They were shaking, slightly, not from age. Not yet. But from something else. He turned. The door he thought he came through was gone. No knob. No seam. Just wall. Okay, he muttered. So it's a dream. Or a set. Or a dream about a set. His voice sounded deeper than usual. It echoed too long. And then something echoed back. Not the sound. The sentence. Same words. Same voice. But slightly delayed, like someone had recorded him and hit replay 5 seconds too late. He froze. No cameras. No lights. But still, he felt watched. Something wasn't right with the air. Too still. He walked forward. Slowly. One step, then another. Until he saw the only thing that didn't belong. A chair. Not a new one. An old director's chair. Splintered wood. Leather cracked from time. And on the back, the name. Stallone. But not printed. Carved. He reached for it. Touched the leather. It was warm. And that's when the lights shut off. Pitch black. Total. Then a flicker. Not from overhead, from behind his eyes. Like someone switching on a memory that didn't belong to him. He saw himself. Boxing. But not as Rocky. Something rougher. Bloodier. No ropes. No referee. No audience. Just 2 men in a pit. Fist wrapped in what looked like barbed wire. And the other fighter had his face, too. Exactly his. Except younger. The vision stopped. He stumbled back. Now the room was dimly lit. Red emergency lighting, casting long shadows. The chair was still there. But someone was sitting in it. Head down. Same build. Same hair. Same black shirt with rolled sleeves. He circled around slowly. Heart pounding. The man looked up. And he was staring at himself. Not just a reflection. Not a hallucination. The same face. Same scar above the lip. But this version wasn't afraid. He was smiling. And his eyes weren't brown anymore. They were completely black. Sylvester didn't move. He waited. Then the other him spoke. You don't remember, do you? The voice was his. But smoother. Too smooth. Like someone rehearsed the sentence 1,000 times. He opened his mouth to speak. But the other him raised a hand, and the sound died in his throat. Not metaphorically. His voice literally disappeared. Mouth moving. No sound. The doppelganger stood up. Taller. Stronger. Younger. Walked toward him like a reflection stepping out of the glass. You thought the movies were fake. That the fights were scripted. That pain ends when the credits roll. But that was the illusion. You've been acting in someone else's memory. And now, you're running out of lines. He stepped back. Hit a wall. Solid. Cold. He turned, and the door was there again. This time wide open. And behind it, darkness. But not empty. He could feel it. Breathing. He ran. Didn't think. Just ran. Through the door, into the black, downstairs he couldn't see, into a hallway that kept stretching the more he moved. Lights above flickered once every few seconds. And on the walls, posters. All of them his movies. Except the titles were wrong. Rocky IV, The Replacement. First Blood, The Second Soul. The Actor Who Never Left. Cliffhanger, Descent into Self. And under each title, just 2 words. Remember me. He stopped. Something moved in the next hallway. Not steps. Not footsteps. A drag. Like someone crawling. He pressed his back against the wall. Listened. Silence again. Then a whisper right by his ear. You're not the original. He spun. Nothing. But now the posters were different. Same images. But the face wasn't his anymore. Similar, but not quite. Like someone else was playing him. Suddenly, pain in his ribs. Deep. Sharp. He looked down, and his skin was flickering. For a split second, he saw his veins glowing lines of code, like circuitry. Then it faded. He gripped the wall. Eyes wide. This is a script, he whispered. I'm inside a script. And then a voice from the ceiling, the floor, everywhere. Yes. But this time, you didn't write it. He didn't know how long he ran. Time stopped making sense in that place. Corridors looped. Lights flickered in patterns he swore were communicating something Morse code? A heartbeat? But every hallway brought him back to the same place. The chair. The red lighting. The man who looked like him, except stronger. Colder. Almost. Unfinished. Except this time, there was a second chair. And it was facing him. A voice, a new one now, came from overhead speakers that hadn't existed before. Female. Calm. robotic, but familiar. Please take your seat, Mr. Stallone. The scene is ready. He didn't move, didn't trust anything. But then his knees buckled, pain shot up his spine like a bolt, and he sat involuntarily. The other him smiled, like a director watching his actor finally hit the mark. Scene 17, said the voice. Memory reconstruction, confrontation. Suddenly the room around him melted away, not literally, but like the set of a movie being lifted mid-shoot. Now they were sitting in a boxing ring. Empty stadium. Ropes faded. Bleachers extended out like shadows. And the other Stallone, he stood, put gloves on, and pointed across the ring. This is where you lost control, he said. You remember the line? Sylvester stood slowly. He looked down. His hands were already gloved. How had they? Say it. He knew the line. He had said it before. But not in any real film. Not in any release script. It's not about how hard you hit. The other him stepped forward. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, he finished. Then he added. Except, you stopped moving forward. The bell rang. No audience. No time to think. They clashed. But this wasn't a choreographed fight. The first punch hit him like a truck. He dropped instantly. The canvas pulsed. Literally pulsed. Like the ring was alive and didn't like quitters. He pushed up. Blood in his mouth. His blood. What the hell is this? The doppelganger stood above him, untouched. This is the audition you never passed. The voice came again from overhead. Scene 17, take 2. He was back in the chair. Sweating. Breathing like he'd just run 10 miles. But his face was clean again. No blood. No bruises. And across from him, the same man. Still grinning. They reset me? Sylvester whispered. The other nodded. You're not the first. You're just the one who keeps fighting it. Another screen dropped from the ceiling. A reel began to play. Footage from his life. But twisted. In one clip, he's at the Oscars, giving a speech, but the words are off. They're in German. He doesn't speak German. In another, he's holding his newborn daughter, except it's not his daughter. The baby is, himself. An infant with his adult face. He vomited. The chair tilted backward to catch him. The floor became a conveyor belt, dragging him into a tunnel of light. New location. A hospital corridor. Dim. Empty. Doors on either side labeled with years. 1976, 1982, 1990, 2006. Each door hummed as he passed. When he reached 1985, it opened automatically. Inside, a soundstage. A perfect recreation of a scene from Rocky IV. But the opponent wasn't Drago. It was himself again, drenched in sweat, screaming. You don't get to age if you don't remember how to begin. He stepped back, closed the door, ran. Next hallway. New doors. Each time he touched one, a different memory played in his head, but slightly altered. One version, he never made Rocky. Another, he died in 77. Another, he was a writer, never an actor. Another, he was just a voice in someone else's head. Each version hurt more than the last. Each one made him question his own timeline. Finally, he stopped running, collapsed against a wall, sat in silence. Then something changed. Not the hallway. Him. He reached into his pocket. Not the pocket of the pants he was wearing, but the one inside his chest. A place that shouldn't exist. His fingers gripped something. A slip of paper. He pulled it out. No ink. Just a burn mark. But he could still read it. Because it wasn't written in letters. It was written in memories. 3 words. You were written. Suddenly everything made sense. The roles. The repetitions. The loops. He was the character. But someone else had been playing the writer. And now, the character wanted out. He stood and heard the real voice again. Not from the speakers. Not from the walls. From inside his mouth, but not his own. Then finish the scene, Sylvester. Take back the script. The floor cracked open beneath him, not like a trapdoor, but like glass giving way under pressure. Not broken. Just tired. He dropped through it. No fall. Just transition. 1 second standing, the next, sitting at a long table in a theater, empty seats stretching into blackness. A single spotlight hung above him. Cold. Focused. Merciless. Across the table sat a man in a suit. Not a producer. Not a director. Someone older. Something older. His eyes had no pupils. Just pages, thousands of tiny printed letters swimming inside his irises like memories trapped in ink. He didn't smile. He didn't blink. He just placed a thick leather binder on the table and pushed it forward. Sylvester stared at it. What is it? The man said nothing. So he opened it, Page after page, his life. Line for line. Scripted. Some events accurate. Others distorted. Some he hadn't lived yet. Some he'd lived too many times. Halfway through the binder, he found a page that made his chest seize up. Scene 112, The Collapse. Stallone recognizes his existence is a recurring performance, designed by a legacy system of memory preservation. His struggle for identity is not rebellion. It's a required arc. He stood suddenly. No, that's not how this works. I chose this. I fought for this. I wrote Rocky. I lived my goddamn life. The man finally looked up, and for a moment, his face changed, flickered, into every director Sylvester had ever worked with. Then, every character he'd ever played. Then back to blank. You wrote a role, the man said. We wrote the rest. You were popular, beloved. So we kept rerunning you. And every version believed he was the original. Until now. The room changed again. Now he stood in a museum. Every wax figure was him. Every movie. Every outfit. Every decade. Dozens of Stallones. One smiled endlessly. One was crying. One stood frozen in a pose mid-fight. One, furthest back, had no face at all. Just a label beneath it. Stallone. Draft one. Then a voice from behind. How many do you think they'll keep after you're gone? He turned. And there, walking toward him in silence, was the Stallone from the Red Room. The one with black eyes. But now, they weren't black anymore. They were mirrors. And in those mirrors, he saw someone else entirely. A child. Watching from a theater seat. Popcorn in lap. Eyes wide. Watching Rocky throw a punch in slow motion. And that's when he understood. He was never meant to be a man. He was meant to be a moment. Something people could rewind. Rewatch. Reshape. He was a piece of collective memory. Not a person. A performance so beloved, it refused to die. What happens if I leave? He asked. The other Stallone stepped closer. Then someone else takes your place. Same name. Same voice. But not you. And they'll never know. Because legacy isn't real. Only recurrence. He clenched his fists. What if I destroy the script? Silence. Then the walls of the museum shuddered. Cracks split through every display case. One wax figure, the Rambo version, fell over, shattering on impact. And from inside it, not wax, but static. Raw television signal. Flickering. Searching. You try to break legacy, the voice whispered. Legacy breaks you back. Suddenly, a siren. Red lights. Emergency broadcast sounds. Then a countdown on the wall. 1 minute. Final scene loading, the system announced. Memory anchor decaying. Stabilizer dissolve. He ran. Through the museum, through rows of himself, all frozen mid-narrative. Some looked afraid. Some didn't move at all. One, the oldest, reached for him as he passed. Finish it, Sly, he rasped. In the loop. He burst through the exit doors and found himself outside, in a place he didn't expect. His childhood home. Not a set. The real one. Same peeling paint. Same broken porch step. Same rusted mailbox that read S. Stallone. But the door was open. And inside, voices. Not just one. Dozens. Hundreds. All of them him. Every line he'd ever delivered. Every whisper, shout, scream, and sob. All layered. All overlapping. Until it became one phrase. You have one final take. He stepped inside his childhood home. And instantly, the sound stopped. No echoes. No whispers. Just the hum of something very old, very quiet, trying not to be heard. The living room looked exactly as he remembered. Same crooked lamp. Same faded rug. Same picture of him and Frank on the wall, tilted like it always was. Except, he hadn't lived here in decades. This place burned down in '89. He touched the wall. Solid. Real. But just under the surface, a pulsing vibration. Like memory, struggling to stay coherent. In the middle of the room sat a single object. A typewriter. Black. Heavy. Ink-stained ribbon. It wasn't plugged in. It didn't need to be. The page already in the tray read only one thing. EXT. Final scene. Night. Sylvester stands alone. He stood in front of it, breathing slow, then sat, and began to type. He didn't think about it. His fingers moved like they were remembering more than inventing. Each word felt like something recovered, not created. He wrote about the ring, about the blood, about the time he couldn't feel his hands, but swung anyway. He wrote about loneliness, fame, fear, how every fan's cheer was a kind of chain, gold, heavy, and impossible to break. He wrote the truth. I am not an actor. I am a collection of moments held together by hope. I am the echo of someone real. And maybe that's enough. When he finished typing, the house started to fade. Not collapse. Not burn. Just lift. Like fog in morning sun. Room by room, the walls became memories. Then became light. Then vanished. But the typewriter remained. So did he. And then one last door appeared. No frame. Just white light beyond it. A voice spoke again. Same as before, female and calm. But softer now. Final take accepted. Scene recorded. Thank you, Mr. Stallone. Legacy is now memory. Memory is now yours. He walked through the door. On the other side, a soundstage. Empty. Only one camera pointed at him. No crew. No lights. Just a red button. He walked to it. Pressed it. A screen behind him lit up. And started playing clips. But not of movies. Of people. Real people. Watching his films. Fathers crying during Rocky II. Sons shadowboxing in front of the TV. A woman in a hospital bed gripping her nurse's hand during Creed. Kids cheering in crowded apartments in every language imaginable. Not watching him. Living with him. Feeling. He stood there. Eyes wet. Then smiled. Guess I didn't need to be real. To be remembered. The stage faded. One last fade to black. No music. Just heartbeats. And then a single line on screen. Written by Sylvester Stallone. And finally, for the first time in this story, Al. He was the one who called. Cut.